Good evening. Student activists are threatening to target government buildings after police arrested their leaders and cleared road blockades in Mongkok. One of them, Joshua Wong, was hit by an egg today as a court let him out on bail but banned him from the Mongkok area. ATV's Raymond Young reports.
Mongkok woke up this morning to business as usual for the first time since protesters took over key road junctions in the name of democracy at the end of September. Except for the presence of police officers at every street corner, there was no reminder of the 2 nights of chaos triggered by the removal of all road blockades under court orders. With all 4 westbound lanes on Argyle Street cleared for traffic, buses could pass smoothly through this intersection on Nathan Road. Queues formed at dozens of previously suspended bus stops as commuters went back to their normal routes on Nathan Road, where all 6 lanes were reopened yesterday. HSBC's main branch in Mongkok was back in business after weeks of frequent closures, providing some relief to elderly customers who rely on teller services. Retailers said it would be a while before tourists and shoppers returned in force to the usually bustling district, but they were relieved to see the roads open again. This jewelry store on Nathan Road went a step further, cutting prices for selected items by half to lure customers. Police maintained a heavy presence throughout the shopping hub, given concerns that die-hard protesters would make further attempts to occupy the streets again. They kept an eye on a handful of protesters who were camping outside an electronics store on Sayang Choi Street.
It's back to business as usual for the first time in 2 months after the removal of the road blockades here in Mongkok. But the situation remains unpredictable, and there are police officers everywhere to stop protesters from taking over the streets again.
It looks like they won't have to worry about scholarism leader Joshua Wong for the moment. A court has banned the student activist from the area as part of his bail condition after his arrest during yesterday's clearance operation.
Scholarism don't have a plan to occupy Mongkok again, but we just hope to maintain the occupied area on Causeway Bay and Admiralty, and we'll hope the government to solve the argument between the government and the general public by facing the political problem rather than just find the court or the bailiff to solve the problem.
As Wong left the Kowloon City Court today, he was hit by an egg on the back of the head. Police immediately arrested 2 men accused of the attack. While the incident reflected the resentment student leaders have sparked with their determination to carry on with their road blockades, they're not backing down. The police crackdown in Mongkok has angered them further and left them with no faith in the government's willingness to end the civil disobedience crisis through talks. The Federation of Students Yvonne Leung revealed today that they may target government buildings next in their campaign for real universal suffrage. It's an option that even critics of the movement have suggested, saying the students' grievances should be directed at the government and not ordinary citizens trying to go about their daily lives. On a visit to South Korea, Chief Executive Leung Chien-ying urged pro-democracy activists not to break the law and occupy roads anymore. He said life in Mongkok is returning to normal after an effective police operation. Raymond Young, ATV News.
Joshua Wong joins fellow activists Lester Sham and radical lawmaker Lan Kwok-hong in being banned from the Mongkok area. They're accusing police of assaulting them during their arrest yesterday. ATV's Emily Sue reports.
Joshua Wong was driven in a police van to Kowloon City Court this morning, along with others arrested during the clearance of Mongkok yesterday. Another student leader, Lester Sham, and radical lawmaker Lan Kwok-hong were also taken to court. Of the 55 people arrested during the clearance operation, more than 30 have been charged with obstructing public officers from carrying out their duties. Principal Magistrate Peter Law adjourned the case to the 14th of January and released them on bail of up to $500 each. But bail came with one condition, called for by the prosecution, that the defendants be banned from parts of Mongkok.
I think it's totally abuse of the due process. I think I was a defendant for more than 10 times now. I have never faced this kind of consequence.
Leung is banned from the area within Fa Yuen Dungda's Shanghai Streets and Mongkok Road. He described the ban as unreasonable and has not ruled out an appeal, saying the no-go area exceeds that covered by the injunction enforced yesterday.
So I think my right as a human being and my authority as a legislator have been quashed.
Scholarism leader Wong agreed. Although he too has been banned from parts of Mongkok, the magistrate allowed him to travel through the area as Mongkok Station is the closest to the Open University where he studies.
I think it's quite inconvenient for me, such as I need to go to Mongkok to have some of the street forum or street promotion.
Wong accused police of hurting him in the neck and face during his arrest. He claims they attempted to injure him in the groin at least 6 to 7 times.
We do not hurt any people who are responsible for clearing the roadblock. However, the policemen try to hurt us. It's really out of our expectation.
Shum, the number 2 in the Federation of Students, described his bail conditions as unreasonable, and he too accused officers of using excessive force against him.
I think I were being treated quite violently by the police. For example, my hips and certain areas of my body were hit by some legs or were hit by policemen.
Both Shum and Wong challenged the government to clarify whether it has the authority to restart the political reform process if and when its electoral package for the 2017 poll is vetoed in LegCo next year.
Police have arrested an Apple Daily reporter in Mongkok, accusing him of assaulting an officer. The reporter and his colleague, a cameraman, got into trouble while filming a crowd that had gathered at the junction of Soy Street and Sayang Choi Street at around 8 p.m. He was handcuffed and taken away. The cameraman was accused of trying to touch an officer's gun but was not arrested. The Journalists Association has expressed concern about frontline reporters being pepper sprayed, beaten, pushed to the ground and threatened by police officers over the past 2 days in Mongkok. Pan-Democrats are complaining that the government is using the courts and police to achieve its political ends. They say yesterday's clearance operation in Mongkok has undermined the rule of law. 23 Pan-Democrats issued a joint statement today to condemn police, accusing them of heavy-handedness when helping bailiffs to clear protest areas in Mongkok. Riot police resorted to pepper spray and batons, but police insisted that only minimum force was used when protesters charged and hurled objects at them. The explanation failed to convince the Pan-Democrats.
Our anxieties and our concerns go particularly to the police, who apparently exercised disproportionate powers and used disproportionate force on civilians who participated in the street demonstrations.
At least 169 people were arrested during the clearance, but Leung said many of those detained hadn't seen any court bailiffs.
But according to the court orders, the bailiffs had the first responsibility and duty to explain the orders to possible arrestees. So apparently, we are very concerned that the orders handed down by the High Court had not been executed in the way intended by our judges.
The Civic Party leader said his pro-democracy colleagues are worried that the government is exploiting the courts and police.
We are very concerned that the Leung Chun-ying administration has been using first our courts, then the police, to a political end. But this is not the way to solve the problem that is haunting Hong Kong.
There was chaos in Mongkok throughout last night as protesters responded to online calls to take back the streets. Here's Emily Sue.
I want true universal suffrage, chanted defiant protesters who returned to the streets of Mongkok last night, hours after police dismantled the barricades on Nathan Road, opening the thoroughfare to traffic after 2 months. Hundreds of police officers rushed to Sai Yung Choi Street South, which is parallel to Nathan Road, at around 8 p.m. to prevent demonstrators from spilling onto the road to block traffic. Police held up banners warning protesters to withdraw, but chaos descended on the bustling shopping hub. Some officers brandished pepper spray canisters in a bid to scare off protesters before hosing them with the chemical. There was constant pushing and shoving throughout the night as police tried to restore order. Many people were pressed to the ground and taken away. Some protesters got emotional. Others were injured. Officers did not spare frontline reporters. This man claimed he was pushed by an officer even though he obeyed orders. He said he had gone to Mongkok in response to Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying's call for people to go shopping in the district. There was also trouble at the junction of Nathan Road and Argyle Street as some protesters tried to retake the main thoroughfare that was cleared by police yesterday. Officers quickly pushed them back. Sporadic clashes between protesters and police lasted until about 5 a.m. when emotions gave way to fatigue and traffic gradually returned to normal. When Hong Kong woke up this morning, it was back to business as usual in Mongkok.
To other news, households and businesses can expect a bit of relief next year. Power supplier CLP has scaled down its predicted tariff hike. The increase will be far lower than the original estimate of 11.8%. With 2014 coming to an end, many people are worried that they'll be hit with higher utility charges next year. But there was relief today for millions of households and businesses surfaced by CLP Power. Paul Poon, managing director of the city's biggest electricity supplier, said the tariff hike will be far lower than the 11.8% estimated earlier. He did not give the exact figure, but said the tariff proposal has been sent to the government. Consumers will know next month how much more they'll have to shell out. Chief Corporate Development Officer Quince Chong said the power supplier managed to keep costs down with a string of measures. These include boosting power plant efficiency and delaying gas imports from northwest China, which are 3 times more expensive than current supplies from Hainan Island. William Yu, who is on the government's Energy Advisory Committee, sounded a note of caution. He said electricity bills are set to rise in future as CLP has to double gas use by next year to meet stricter emission targets. Overseas, the cricket world is mourning the loss of Australian batsman Philip Hughes. The promising young star died in hospital 2 days after being hit by a ball during a match in Sydney. ATV's Bo Leung reports.
Friends and teammates of Philip Hughes were shattered as they left the Sydney hospital, where the 25-year-old batsman died this morning. He underwent emergency surgery on Tuesday after being hit in the neck by a bouncer while batting during a domestic match. The injury caused massive bleeding to his brain and he never regained consciousness. Australian captain Michael Clarke was among the first to pay tribute to Hughes.
Cricket was Philip's life, and we as a family shared that love of the game with him.
Although he was a seasoned international, Hughes still had much to offer in a country that loves cricket.
This is a devastating day for all of us who knew Philip. The entire cricketing community is in shock and struggling to come to terms with the death of such a popular and talented player.
Philip Hughes died playing the sport he loved, amongst those that loved him. His final shot typified this approach and his approach to the game: aggressive, positive and defiant.
The Australian flag flew at half-mast over the Sydney cricket ground where Hughes was fatally injured.
The thought that a player in his prime should be killed playing our national game is shocking and sobering. At a time like this, it's important to remember our sports people, to be conscious of their feelings, but most of all, simply to think and pray for the family and friends of Philip Hughes, who has been tragically taken from us far too soon.
Hughes played 52 times for his country in all competitions, making his Test debut at the age of 20 against South Africa. He had been expected to turn out for Australia against India, but the first Test in Brisbane next week is now in doubt. Philip Hughes' promising cricket star was 25.
The US town of Ferguson is relatively calm after 2 nights of rioting, but authorities have rejected calls for a new grand jury to decide whether a white policeman should be charged for killing a black teenager. ATV's Ben O'Rourke reports.
Angry protesters marched through the streets of St. Louis, Missouri, to denounce the grand jury decision not to punish white policeman Darren Wilson for shooting dead unarmed black teenager Michael Brown in the suburb of Ferguson in August. Their destination was City Hall, where dozens of them tried to barge their way in. Riot police with truncheons and shields moved in to clear them out, arresting several who managed to get inside.
On the sidewalk! On the sidewalk!
In Ferguson, extra National Guard soldiers were deployed in the wake of the riots and looting sparked by the decision not to charge Wilson. The windows of many shops and cafes were smashed, while some businesses were burned down, drawing fire from civil rights leaders.
You cannot confuse civil disobedience with violence. Don't confuse those that are throwing bottles and looting with those that are putting themselves on the line to stand up for cause.
Brown's family and supporters say not only was he unarmed, but had his hands raised and was pleading with Wilson not to shoot him when he was gunned down. Minutes earlier, Brown was apparently seen robbing a shop. Wilson says he pulled the trigger in self-defense.
What is a little mysterious to me is very rarely do African-American young people confront police. In fact, 9 out of 10 instances, young people are running from police. So the version doesn't exactly add up to what was said. The main thing is the officer, one of the things I'd say was the officer was not cross-examined because his testimony was just accepted.
What I'm afraid of is that there will not be indictments of officers for killing unarmed people. That's what I'm afraid of. I think that we are so busy promoting the reaction to injustice that we're not reacting to injustice.
Across the country, protesters hit the streets in Los Angeles, at one point blocking a road and causing a tailback for miles. Police arrested more than 100 people after the marchers played dead at road junctions. Ben O'Rourke, ATV News.
Finance news: local shares lost ground today amid concerns about the mainland economy. The Hang Seng Index fell 107 points to close at 24,004. Investors appeared worried about slowing growth in the world's second biggest economy. Wall Street is closed tonight for the Thanksgiving holiday. Let's take a look at European markets. The London FTSE is up 3 points. The Frankfurt DAX is up 53 points. The Paris CAC is up 13 points. US dollar cross rates: the euro 1.24, the pound is 1.57, it's 117.68 Japanese yen against the US dollar. Time to check your Mark 6 tickets. Tonight's winning numbers: 2, 20, 22, 30, 40, 45. The extra number is 44. The weather forecast for the next few days: mainly cloudy tomorrow with a couple of rain patches in the morning and at night. Temperatures will range from 21 to 24 degrees. More of the same on Saturday, sunny intervals on Sunday, and temperatures will drop quite a bit next week. Here's a look at the weather around the world. That's all the news for now. Thanks for watching ATV. I'm Edna Tse. Good night.
Coming up, Celebrity MasterChef.